Well, Mike, it looks like the Biden administration has now gotten itself a couple not very good news coming in. The national economy looks like we've got more problems. Not just dealing with the inflation, we're dealing with high gas prices. We're still dealing with the issue in Ukraine. Post poll numbers are just tanked. We talked earlier in another segment that Hispanics only 26% approve of the job he's been doing.
Hmm.
You've got 41% of youth voters support the job he's doing, and overall, I mean, he's just upside down numbers wise. I mean, he is lucky that he's not running for re-election right now.
Yeah, he is very fortunate he's not running for re-election right now, and probably a lot of the members of Congress are saying, "Can we postpone the election as well?" I think right now the way it's gotten so bad, I think every hour he goes in and calls in Dr. Fauci and does a COVID test to see if he's tested even remotely positive, so he can take a week off and get some sympathy from everybody. Kind of like Kamala did. It's like, all of a sudden she tested positive, and everybody felt bad because, I mean, nobody wants, it doesn't matter your political thing, you don't want anybody getting sick, but yeah, he needs a vacation. I mean, he really does.
He needs to pull a Kamala, is what you're
He
saying.
needs to pull a Kamala. Yes, take a break. The GNP came out, the gross national product, and the last report, which was the last quarter of last year, 2021, it had gone up 6.9%, which is kind of good in the sense of it shows that people were coming out of the pandemic and growing. And the first quarter of this year, it was 1.4%, a significant decline, which has, of course, its roots in the stock market and in portfolios and things like that. And of interest, I think, especially considering some of the things that we've been working on, one of the main reasons for this decline in the GNP in the United States is that imports in the first quarter of this year were up 20%. Exports of U.S. goods to foreign countries was down 6%. So there is a huge trade imbalance that is taking place in this country right now, where we're taking in foreign goods, mostly from China, but foreign entities are either not taking our goods or they're not getting shipped. So I think that's one of the things that came out. But in terms of numbers, and these are, you can come up with numbers all the time. And I like to try and be just straight up with people. When Donald Trump was president, the economic numbers would come out, and 2017, 2018, 2019, they were through the roof. Largest number of small businesses of blacks, Asians, Hispanics. The growth was amazing. The economy was strong. Unemployment was down. All good numbers. And of course, Democrats would find something to nitpick at, and that's what they would go after. And then of course Biden ends up being president, and so now the Republicans find everything that they can pick at. Democrats find the things they want to crow about, like the job numbers. That's the way the game is played, okay? But and this is why I always say to people, you can make whatever you want out of numbers that you can, but what you can't do is change how people feel in the gut, and in the gut, more than the polling numbers of favorable, unfavorable for Biden, is where he has problems. Because this is the latest Gallup poll. 42% of Americans believe that the economic conditions of the country are poor. 38% believe they're only fair. That's 80% of the American people think it's poor or fair. 18% think it's good, and 2% think it's excellent, which is probably...
Who the heck are the 2%?
Joe and Kamala.
Joe and
That's
Kamala.
it, Joe and Kamala.
And their family, their immediate family.
But not their staffs, because even the staffs are leaving for both of them over here. So, but that tells you how people feel, and that's a tough one to overcome.
Well, the thing is, it's important for people to realize is that gut feeling, because when we talk to candidates, or we talk to a lot of our clients who are some of these corporations who may have, who are going through their own set of challenges. We end up telling them it's like, that gut check that people have, that
Mm-hmm.
takes a while to change. That internal feeling of things are wrong, or I don't trust the company, or invite, that takes a long time to change. The love of a company and having it go negative, I mean, that's a quick thing. I mean, people can
Mm-hmm.
turn on a dime there.
Right. One
They
thing,
could you
one
can
time.
you can love it one day, and then the next day they'll hate you. I mean, that can turn on a dime, but the opposite doesn't hold true. I mean, once you have that negative feeling or that negative gut check, to turn that takes months and years to kind of switch around.
Even when the numbers start to get good, people don't believe it. What
Well, because they
happens
don't
is
trust it. They don't trust
exactly
it.
that's
Yeah,
exactly it. They do not trust it. They think the other shoe is going to drop.
yeah,
That's what the pollsters will tell you, and they're right. Even when the numbers start getting better, and I don't think the numbers are going to get better, by the way, but even if the numbers did get better, there's still that trust issue and that expectation issue that something else bad is going to happen. So it does take a very long period of time to get that negative feeling out. And in this case, it really is deep seated.
hmm
Because I mean, and people are going to the market and they're paying more. People are going to the market and there's less options and less choices. People are going to the gas station; it's costing them more. People don't see. Maybe people are making more money, but they don't see their money going farther.
right,
They may be making $2 an hour more than what they were making, but it's not going any farther. It's in fact, they're still coming out less on the end of this thing.
right.
So I think that's the kind of thing that has settled into people's feeling and mentality, and that's what the Democrats have to overcome between now and November of 2022 to not get wiped out. And I think it's going to be really difficult for them to do that, because it's just one of those things that is in people right now. You can listen to the news and hear the spin.
Right.
You can hear the Democrat spin. You can hear the Republican spin. You can turn off the news and not listen to any of it. My personal choice. You watch the Comedy Channel. You watch South Park. It makes more sense. But when you go to the market, or you go to the gas station, or you get your electric bill, or you get your water bill, and you see what it's doing to you and what's happening, you just have that feeling of dread.
hmm
And that's a tough thing to get rid of, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not even going to happen when things start to get better. It's still going to take a whole lot of time.
Right. And you've got. I mean, plus, as we're going out or we're trying to go out and see more of our friends, I mean, you're starting to see it costs a lot more to do everything. It costs a lot more to go to a restaurant. It costs a lot more to, obviously, as you've said, and we've talked about, fill up your gas tank, and clothes and everything else that comes in. I mean, it's amazing, how much more everything is costing, and you're feeling that dread that comes in every single day. You've got, it's like, you look at your bank account, it's like, man, when I used to fill up a whole shopping cart, now I get half of a shopping cart
Right.
for what I used to pay before.
And it's strange things. I mean, I was saying to my wife the other day, because I do the shopping for the house here, and it's really, it's like I stop at the pharmacy to see if I can get some antidepressants before I have to shop. But it's like things that just, I forgot what it was, but there was one particular thing. My wife said, "Can you get us this?" And I went, and it was like twice as much as it was last week.
Probably
And there's
bacon.
no
Probably
no,
bacon.
it wasn't even bacon. No, but there was no rhyme or reason to it. It's like oh, I know, it was tomato sauce. It was tomato sauce, and it's like all of a sudden it's up $1.50, and I'm Italian, so I like the good stuff, but even the cheap stuff was up $1.50, and it's like, was there a tomato famine or something? I mean, did someone like do something to the tomatoes in this country? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you see that, and like you said, you see what you have in your basket, and it's half of what you had, and it costs the same amount. And I mean, the biggest one, like we've talked about, is the gas. But there's also, especially out here, you get your electric bill, you get your water bill. I mean, I got my water bill the other day, and I was like, what do I got, a fountain outside? The Da Vinci fountain? I don't have the Da Vinci fountain in front of my house. I told the dog she's got to stop drinking as much water as she does. It's ridiculous, and it really says to people, it makes them uneasy, it makes them scared. And so I think that's one of the things. There's a security issue of, I can get a job, but how many do I need to get to pay my water bill, pay my electric bill, pay my gas bill, pay for my food, those kinds of things. It used to be, I remember not too long ago, the political commercials used to be, they still ring in my head, Mary's a senior citizen and she has to decide, is she going to get her medication or is she going to pay her rent? And now it's like, you got to decide, are you going to go to work or are you going to get gas? Or you're going to work from home? It really is the kind of thing that is, it's a repetitive thing. And I think what it really gets to also is timing, which is people thought, people thought 2021 was going to be, in terms of the pandemic, the revival. And it wasn't. I mean, because of the different variations that existed, you actually had more people died in 2021 than they had in 2020. And people didn't expect that. They thought the pandemic was going to get better. Now it seems to be getting better, mostly because, people that do get sick, it's not as serious of a situation. And so there's that expectation, like you said, of getting together with people and going out and doing stuff. And suddenly there's sticker shock and you're like, gee, I missed you, but I don't like you that much that I'm going to pay $25 from gas to go see you. So, have a good time.
Well, and this always, I know Elon Musk has now bought Twitter, and I'm wondering if Donald Trump's going to be making his debut back on the social media. And all he has to do is just put up a graphic of gas prices, inflation, and just have a little video like, miss me yet? Because
oh yeah, no, it's coming.
Because that's it. I mean, that's all he's got to do, or something like that. Because
it's coming. That's a great question, by the way. Will he or won't he?
He said he isn't. But given the national economic crisis that is happening, given the amount of people that are so unhappy, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to boast about this. It's like, look, you got what you wanted. You got elections matter, and you got you all of you who voted for Biden. Here's the outcome of what you voted for.
Yeah, elections do matter, and you can't change. You can interpret numbers. You can't change numbers. The thing and I'll go back to what I said before. The thing you can't impact is how people feel. And right now, those numbers, 80% of the people think the economic condition of the country is fair or poor. I mean, it's not morning in America. Or
maybe it is morning in America. Just a different one.
Yeah, morning, M-O-U-R. Well, I mean, I remember one line from one of the debates that Joe said, which was, it's going to be a long, cold winter. And I remember I was watching that, and I was just like, man, I don't think he should have said that. Well, give the guy credit. He was right. It's been a long, cold winter, and who knew winter was going to last a year and a half, and who knows how long it's going to last.
But and I've got to believe that with a Trump-like person, and I'm just gonna, another candidate out there, they do everything possible to try to make sure that we weren't in this particular situation. But it's just like, it just seems as though this administration is like doubling down on. It's like we're having gas prices where they're at right now. It's like, and they're like, we're just going to go full electric, and we're going to stop using petroleum. It's like, and no more permits, and
right.
You're like, buddy, gas prices are the highest they've ever been, and yet you're going out there and going to try to make it worse. And it's like, why don't we get out of a crisis, figure out where the balance is, and then look, people are going to make transitions into electric cars, as they're going to make transitions into other type of vehicles. Yeah, the market will drive it, and don't go out there and just go and make it worse and worse and worse.
But here's the thing, and I'm going to go back to what we've talked about a lot today, which is you got a policy and you want to implement the policy and you fail at it because of competence. Let's talk about gas for a second. First of all, you keep hearing, well, they cancel the pipeline, and the response is, well, the pipeline wasn't going to be built for a while. That's true, but also knowing it's going to be there gives a sense of confidence and a sense of people making investments. The number of applications for drilling that are sitting on a bureaucrat's desk at the Department of Energy is enormous. So it has had an impact. But here's the thing. Joe Biden's answer to the $6 gas is that he was going to take, I think, and I could be wrong, and people correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said he was going to take 1 million barrels a day out of the oil petroleum reserve, which of course makes people in the Middle East very happy because, now they get to refill that. 1 million barrels a day to help reduce the cost of gasoline. Has anybody seen that? I mean, when you tell me you're going to free up 1 million barrels a day to do that. First of all, the left went batshit crazy because what he's saying is we're gonna burn more petroleum. Okay,
Right.
so they all go nuts because, as you said before, it's a religion to them. So that's blasphemy that you're gonna free up this petroleum. But the second thing is we're the end user. Okay, so gas isn't average of 605, it's now 595. That still hurts pretty good. So 1 million barrels a day of freed oil that we're not paying for
Right.
somehow only translates into that small amount into my pocket. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
And so the policy doesn't fix the problem. And that's what I think people are looking at and saying, fix this problem, and they won't. I mean, it's almost, you almost get the sense they don't know how, or they don't want to. They're just more hell bent on on staying to the purity of the policy than the practicality of it.
I don't think they. I think they know how. I think you're right on. It's the religion part. It's they've bought into something, and they're just gonna ride it, ride or die on this one, and they're just hell bent on taking it that route because it's we're not dealing with novices here. We're not dealing with people who don't understand how government works or polling or how to read a polling chart. They understand this, but they just do not seem. And I don't want to say they don't care, or maybe they don't care to the point of willing to change things to make it better for the end user, which is the Americans.
The people that pay the bills.
Yeah, and it's just it's just I don't know. It's I think they bought something and they're just gonna ride it all out
Right.
and think that they're going to be proven right in 10 years or 15, 20 years from now. But the thing is, in between now to that time is you got more people on the welfare rolls. You got more people that are living paycheck to paycheck. More people that are going to be falling off the cliff. Look at the homeless situation that is just staggering. And so all you're doing is just making more people dependent on the government for a handout as opposed to a hand up.
Well, that's part of the thing, is to make people dependent on government. The problem they have is, as those numbers indicate, when 80% of the people say their economic condition of the country is fair or poor, they ain't buying it. And they need to, I wouldn't even say a mid-course correction. They gotta, they've got to sit down and figure out how they spend the next few months, because right now they're heading for a cliff. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
We just got to get to the cliff.
Yeah.
But what that does, though, honestly, and this is a good concluding point, is it does put the pressure on the Republican majority if there becomes a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, because people are going to say, okay, we recognized that what happened in 2020 was a stupid thing, and we've gone in a completely different direction than we wanted. I mean, I think people in 2020 that were saying basically, we want some normalcy here. We don't want to have, government careening left and right. We want some normalcy, but I don't think they bargained for this.
No.
And so now it's like, okay, if Republicans do win in the House and the Senate, especially if they win both chambers, people are going to be expecting results. They better be able to, and it's not going to be good enough to say, "Oh, we tried, but Biden did this," or he's governing by executive order. People don't give a shit about that stuff. They want to know that their gas price is going to be less. They want to know that there's going to be, more food on the shelves. They want to know that they're not going to, see news stories about people running amok on train tracks, stealing stuff off of trains and not getting punished for it, or containers stacked up at ports because you can't ship them overseas because the foreign shippers won't take them. People are going to want to see things change, and it's going to be on the Republicans at that point to govern and do that.
Well, the time will tell, and we'll see. We'll see how these numbers show up, especially as we get closer to the primary elections, because I think we may get surprises as to who ends up beating out who, and ends up going in the general election. So I mean, there may be situations, especially here in California, where the top two vote getters, you may have a Republican versus Republican in some of these areas, or an incumbent within the Democratic side, or even a Republican that gets taken out. Because I think we've gotten to the point now where when people feel this bad or this anxious about the economy, they want someone to blame, and they're gonna try to figure out a way to take it out on someone. And so,
a pox on both your houses,
right?
If you're in office, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so, maybe we'll end up with Dr. Oz as a senator from Pennsylvania.
I will.
It's a strange world we live in.
That it is, but I wouldn't be doing anything else except this. I mean, it is like, what do we call it? Hollywood for ugly people. So
we qualify.
There you go. Great talking to you, Mike.
All right, thanks everybody.